We're taking a look into the near future. The year is 2026, and we're going to break down what we are calling the architecture of autonomy, a bold new playbook for one of the world's most important rising powers, India.
So let's set the scene. The date is March 4, 2026, and right now, as we speak, a series of events are unfolding that are going to define the entire decade.
Picture this: a global artery responsible for a huge chunk of the world's oil has just been severed. The global economy is teetering right on the edge of a massive energy crisis. But while most of the world is just holding its breath, one nation is responding with a series of maneuvers so bold, so completely unexpected, that it's literally rewriting the geopolitical rulebook right in front of our eyes.
Now, what possibly connects a crisis in the Middle East, a stunning diplomatic reset with a major Western power, and a brand new frontier in the frozen north? You're going to want to stay with us because some of the connections we're about to reveal are truly shocking. Okay, let's get back to it.
All right, so it all kicks off right here at the world's most critical and now its most dangerous choke point.
The Strait of Hormuz is effectively under blockade. See, after some US-Israeli strikes on its territory, Iran's Revolutionary Guard is hit back, not with a missile, but with economic warfare. They've put out these warnings, right? And it's basically turned this critical waterway into a ghost town for commercial shipping. The flow of energy that powers the entire planet has been put on lockdown.
And look, this isn't some far-off problem for a country like India. Not at all. This chart tells you everything you need to know. 2/3 of the nation's crude oil and a whopping 80% of its LPG. That's the cooking gas from millions and millions of homes. It all comes through this one single choke point. That's not just a dependency, it's a massive vulnerability that hits everything from economic security right down to the kitchens of ordinary families.
So, what's the immediate fallout from all this? Well, you guessed it, total panic in the markets. Brent crude is soaring, knocking on the door of $100 a barrel. Now, for the world's third largest oil consumer, a price like that isn't just a headline, it's a code red alarm for the entire economy. We're talking about the threat of serious, runaway inflation.
But here's the thing. Facing this code red situation, New Delhi isn't just sitting back and reacting. It's rolling out a very precise two-front response.
They're fighting this on two fronts, simultaneously. On one side, you've got what we can call the energy war, a frantic race against the clock to lock down different fuel supplies and somehow manage these huge economic shockwaves. And on the other, equally important front, you have the people war, a massive logistical operation to get thousands of Indian citizens out of the danger zone.
Okay, so the million-dollar question, how long can India actually ride this out? The answer lies in its strategic reserve, enough for about 66 days. But let's be real, a buffer is just a pause button. It buys you time, sure, but it is not a solution. The real work is happening behind the scenes, scrambling to totally reroute global supply chains on the fly.
And that brings us to that second front, the people war. You know, if you ever want to see a country's real power in a crisis, just look up at the skies. They're calling it Operation Homecoming, and it's a civilian air bridge on a scale that is just staggering to think about, and it's all happening right now.
And this is what that looks like in real time. The government greenlit dozens of special flights in just one day. Major airlines are putting their biggest planes on these routes. They're bringing everybody home, workers, pilgrims, tourists, you name it. And here's the crucial part. Even with fuel prices going through the roof, the government is stepping in to make sure airlines don't start price gouging. It's an incredible display of a citizen-first foreign policy in action.
Okay, but this is where the story gets really interesting. While all of this chaos is being managed, it looks like India is using the distraction to make its most audacious diplomatic play in years.
So in the middle of this scramble for oil and the race to get people home, what was the one thing that made the entire international community's jaw drop? A landmark deal. And not with some old friend or traditional ally, but with a nation that just a couple years ago was basically seen as a hostile partner. I mean, just look at this timeline. It tells the whole incredible story. Go back to 2023, and relations with Canada were completely in the deep freeze over the whole Nijar affair, a huge diplomatic crisis. But then, a new government comes to power in Ottawa. Quiet talks start in 2025, and now, in 2026, we're looking at a complete and total strategic reset.
And what's the centerpiece of this whole thing? A massive $1.9 billion deal for Canada's Cameco to supply high-grade uranium to India. Now, this isn't just about fuel for today, it's about securing the future. This move underpins India's huge goal of getting to 100 gigawatts of nuclear power by 2047. Think about it. At the exact moment the fossil fuel world is thrown into chaos, India makes a huge bet on clean, stable energy from a reliable democratic partner. It's a masterstroke of strategic timing.
But hold on, because that Canada deal wasn't happening in a vacuum. At the exact same time, India was opening up a totally new strategic front, one far, far away from the heat and chaos of the Middle East.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? While the world looks south toward Hormuz, India is looking north, to the Arctic. As this crisis unfolds, the president of Finland is in New Delhi. And believe me, that is no coincidence.
So why Finland of all places? Well, first off, as a brand new NATO member, it's a secure partner in a region that's getting more and more competitive. Second, it's about getting access to a new key strategic asset, the Northern Sea Route. This is a new shipping lane that's opening up as the Arctic ice melts. For India, the long-term goal here is simple: diversify its supply chains and make sure it has a seat at the table as the future of the Arctic gets decided.
Okay, so when you step back and you put all of these different pieces together, the crisis response, that stunning diplomatic reset, this new Arctic frontier, a really clear and powerful new global strategy starts to emerge.
And it's all built around this one big idea: strategic autonomy. What does that actually mean? Well, you can see the formal definition. But simply put, it's the ability for a nation to chart its own course, to chase its own interests without being locked in or held back by any single country or alliance. In short, it is the freedom to act.
And this is what it looks like when the rubber hits the road. You've got proactive, tough crisis management in the Gulf, a long-term nuclear energy hedge with Canada, and a forward-looking strategic partnership with Finland in the Arctic. Each of these actions is like a pillar, and together, they form a new foundation of resilience. This is the architecture of autonomy.
Which, of course, leaves us with the critical question for the future. Is this multi-directional strategy, this great hedge, the brilliant move that secures India's place in the 21st century? Or is it a breathtaking gamble that stretches the nation's diplomatic, economic, and military resources way too thin?
So what do you think? Is the Canada deal a bigger strategic win than the new Arctic partnership? I really want to know what you think, so let us know in the comments below. For the latest in global strategy, make sure you subscribe and turn on those notifications. We'll see you in the next one.